Welcome to the new Triscope News and Sports. Right here, I am David Lawson, and we're going to be talking about the new Wake Forest coach at Wake Forest, Jake Dickert, and we're going to talk about the holiday travel coming up, and also we're going to touch on some college football playoffs today, and uh, and the score from yesterday's between Notre Dame and Indiana. So let's start off with the new head coach who embraces Wake Forest stability. So there was a lot of people who is wondering why in the world did he leave Washington State for Wake Forest? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, first of all, they don't have stability at Washington State, and they're losing money, they're losing coaches, they're losing players, and so Wake Forest needed a coach after Dave Clawson suddenly resigned, which was no surprise to me. As far as me speaking, I can say, hey, I knew for the last couple of years that this was coming, by his press conferences and him meeting him and talking with him and the way that he was just talking. So I knew that he was going to finally decide to leave, especially after back to back losing seasons at Wake Forest. He just can't find a way around the NIL, and he thought it was time to, step down. But he's not leaving Wake Forest. He is taking an advisory role. Be there. His family be there in Winston. But we welcome uh, the new coach, Jake Dickert. And so much of Jake Dickert's job as Wake Forest could look different from this time at Washington State next year because he's going to have a whole lot more resources. He's going to be able to recruit and get portal players from the top of the cap, and that was a promise by AD John Curry and President Wente at Wake Forest. So he has a lot to look forward to. Plus retaining the players as much as he can and getting more players. Uh, you know, um, just look at some of the stuff that he has said in his press conference because I was there at the press conference Thursday, and I'm just going to read off some stuff that he said. He said, "My number one priority is to retain this football team. Dickens was 23 and 20 in 3+ seasons at Washington State. He won't be leading the Cougars for the Holiday Bowl on December 27th against Syracuse. So Dickert is 41, who replaces Dave Clawson, who resigned earlier this week after 11 seasons in the position and a 67-69 record that included a 5-2 bowl mark. So there's a lot of people who's calling Wake Forest the worst place to go to, which is a lie. Don't believe nothing of any of this any podcasters that you hear on YouTube or anywhere on X who calls Jake Dickert a snake, which is not true. They're just jealous and they're just mad because he left. But he don't say nothing. But these podcasters don't say nothing about these other coaches that left. They don't say nothing about the players that have left. They left him. So when Wake Forest needed a coach, Jake Dickert was there to accept it. And and the AD, the new AD coach, who was just hired last summer when that AD, when that athletic director left, he left too. So the athletic director left, and they hired a new one, and McCoy, and then you had some coaches leave. players leave, bunches of people that just left. And so he had no stability. He had no money to work with. It was unstable. So he did lead Washington State to two winning seasons out of three. So that was good. But Dickert is 41, and he has a good bowl mark. He's one of the first. He said that one of the first things that really drew me to Wake Forest is stability. Dickert said it's kind of a chaotic, turbulent college football season. He said stability here at Wake Forest is reversely important. Plus, he comes into a stability conference, ACC, which added SMU, Stanford, and California. How about the Pac 12? I mean, they lost uh, all these players. They only had two. They only had two. And one of them was Washington State. You know who the other one was? You tell me. But Wake Forest is not a some whim, or Wake Forest is not some worst college football school in the conference. They're an awesome academic school. They got great academics. They're one of the best schools in the country. Everybody's high on Wake Forest. So just don't believe anything that you hear or read about how much they hate Jake Dickert because he left. All of those things are misinformation. They don't know what they're talking about because they don't do their homework. They don't tell the truth. They must be Democrat because all the Democrats like to lie like they did against Trump. So I believe that they must be Democrat. But anyway, so since stability has been a characteristic of the Wake Forest football offense, with Clawson following Jim Grove from 2001 to 2013, no stability. He was there for a long time. Jim Grove was. How many coaches have you had Washington State to stay longer than 8 years and two consecutive decades? None. And while other programs have frequent changes at the top, the coach announcement is rare for the Deacons. It's rare for Wake Forest to have a coaching change because they have stability. And Wake Forest expects to have Jay Dickert and his family there for a long time. Just like the other coaches. Jay Dickert is in the area where he said he liked because you can recruit. It's where you couldn't recruit up there because there was no stability, there was nowhere, no money, no places to really recruit from up there around Canada and Oregon State, plus. So when you come right down to it, Wake Forest hired Jake Dickert, and he's there to stay, whether anyone likes it or not. You don't want to talk about the other coaches and the players that are left, but he's bringing a lot of his coaches with him. But Jake Dickert will also interview and probably retain some of the coaches that are left on the Wake Forest staff. And everybody welcomes them. All the media welcomes them. They understand. So those who don't have to get over it. So Jay Dickert, the new Wake Forest coach at Wake Forest. And that's all I got to say about that subject. So we'll move on to the holiday travel. We'll move on to the holiday travel. So let's move over to the holiday travel. So here's what we're going to read from some of these pages here. Oh, where's that, man? I'll find it here in a minute. Okay, here we go. So, so all of you who are traveling for the holidays, there's going to be a lot of traffic out there on the holiday roads and in the air. But but according to the AP airline writer, drivers and passengers without reindeer and sleighs better make a dash for it because it's beginning to look like another record for holiday travel in the U.S. So the Auto Club of AAA predicts that more than 119 million people will travel at the least 50 miles from home between Saturday and New Year's Day, which would top the previous holiday season set in 2019. So, triad groups of airlines for America who foresees record travel say it's expected that U.S. airlines to carry about at least 15 million passengers during a 19-day period. Um, Airlines expect to have their busiest day on Friday and Sunday and on December 26th, December 27th, and December 29th. Flight traffic is expected to be light on both Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and the slowest U.S. air travel day of the year by a wide margin was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was low, and the Transportation Security Administration expects to screen at least 40 million passengers over the holidays through January the 2nd. So about 90% of Americans traveling far from home over the holidays will be in cars, according to AAA. So most people who's going to be traveling will be traveling by cars. That's why it's going to be really busy on the highway. So just be careful. Take your time because we don't want to have no accidents on the road. And as far as gasoline prices are similar to last year, the nationwide average Thursday was $303.05 a gallon, down from 308 a year ago, according to AAA. Charging an electric vehicle averages just under 35 cents per kilowatt hour, but varies by state. Depending on what state you're in, will be how much you're going to pay and how much the kilowatt per hour is. Said airline fares was up 4.7 in November compared with a year earlier, according to U.S. government figures. But earlier in 2025 is a good time to start planning next year's trip, including for spring breaks and summer vacations. So if you're wanting to go fly, now is the best time to plan it and book it ahead because it'll be cheaper. Because travel is so popular, you're not going to find that feels very rock bottom, but January, February are great times to plan for March and April and May. Laura Mata, an editor at Travel Guide publisher, and Lonely Planet said, if you want to go to Paris, go overseas in the spring, you need to be thinking about this in January, which means go ahead and do it now. If you're going overseas to Paris or wherever you're going to go, because if not, then your tickets are going to be higher. So this is it for your holiday travel. Hope you have a safe holiday, whether you're traveling more than 50 miles or less than 50 miles, staying home with family. Hope you have a great, great trip and a safe one. So now let's go to the college football playoff, which starts tonight. We had one game yesterday, which was Notre Dame beating Indiana 27-17, and they'll go on to face Georgia. They will go on to face Georgia. So the game, so today's games, which starts right now, as I was doing this recording. SMU taking on Penn State. Penn State's a 9.5 point favorite. That's in the college football playoff first round game presented by Allstate. It's going to be at Penn State. Number 11 against number 6. No matter about the numbers right now. Then coming right after that will be at 4 p.m. Clemson at Texas. That ought to be a pretty good one. We'll see how Clemson fares against Texas. Texas is actually a 13.5 point favorite. Um, then coming up at 8 p.m., we have Tennessee at Ohio State. Tennessee's at Ohio State. Ohio State's a 7 point game. Expect that one to be a close one. And so your bowl game finals, which was in the Sleuth Veteran Bowl, was South Alabama over Western Michigan 30-23, and it was in the coffee was that coffee Frisco Bowl, Memphis over West Virginia 42-37. Uh, UNLV beating California 24-13, and the all in the Art of Sport LA Bowl, and then we had James Madison defeating Western Kentucky 27-17 in the Becca Ratton Bowl. Sam Houston defeated Georgia Southern in the um, New Orleans Bowl 31-26. And like I said, Notre Dame beat Indiana in the game yesterday in the first round of the playoffs 27-17. And also on that day, it was Ohio over Jacksonville State 30-27 in the Cure Bowl. Florida defeated Tulane 33-8. That was in the Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Florida 33, Tulane 8. So Monday, December 23, we got Coastal Carolina at UTSA in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Northern Illinois at Fresno State in the Potato Bowl. And then Tuesday, December 24th, South Florida at San Jose State in the Hawaii Bowl. Pittsburgh at Toledo in the Game Above Sports Bowl. Got that right? I can't see that. Anyway, then the same day, Rutgers at Kansas City in the Rata Bowl. Arkansas State at Bowling Green in the Virtues Bowl. And then Friday, December 27th, Oklahoma and Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. Birmingham Bowl. Texas Tech, Arkansas, and the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. And Syracuse facing Washington State in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. There will be an interim coach that will be coaching the Washington State against Syracuse. Syracuse is actually a 15 and a half point favorite, which I think they should win easily. And we'll see. But they'll be at Washington State. Then on the same day, USC versus Texas A&M. And Saturday, and then these are games coming up next week. UConn versus North Carolina, and the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, and Boston College in Nebraska, and the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, and then Louisiana TCU and the New Mexican Bowl, and Iowa State taking on Miami, and the CW Network. Well, sorry, that's the channel that is on, and the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Snoop Dogg, never heard of that one. And East Carolina and versus North Carolina State. They're they're both from North Carolina, so there ain't no stranger to them facing each other. Should be a pretty good one. In the Go Bowling Military Bowl. Then we got BYU in Colorado, BYU in Colorado. That ought to be a pretty good one too. In the Valero Alamo Bowl. If I got that wrong, just let me know. Louisiana Tech and Army on the Independence Bowl. We'll call this Independence Bowl. I'm not going to read all that. And Iowa versus Missouri and the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl in Nashville. Miz is only a 3-point favorite over Iowa, so that ought to be a close one. Then Tuesday of next week, or on New Year's Eve, that's New Year's Eve on December 31st, Alabama versus Michigan and the Red Quest Bowl, and Louisville taking on Washington, and the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, South Carolina taking on Illinois, and the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, Baylor taking on LSU, and the Kinder's Texas Bowl. And we don't know about the Boise State. That's a college playoff game. So all of that. We do have this one. Notre Dame, Georgia was a bye team, so so Notre Dame will be taking on Georgia on New Year's Day. So we'll find out about all these others today before they go. So and then we have Duke on Thursday on January the 2nd taking on Ole Miss and the Taxslayer Gator Bowl. Then Friday, January the 3rd, it goes into next year. North Texas versus Texas State, and Minnesota taking on Virginia Tech. And Saturday, January the 4th, Buffalo and versus Liberty, and all these others. And that's the end of the college football playoff and the bowl games. I wasn't going to tell you about the bowl game, but I might as well go ahead while I'm looking at it. So, hope everybody has a good Christmas, and I'll see you back here soon. So I spent almost 25 minutes. So I'm going to go off and say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. See you next year, buddy. My name is David Lawson on the new Triscope News and Sports.